Good evening. My name is State Representative David Wilkerson. As a proud parent of 2 Cobb County graduates, we're here today along with some of my colleagues and concerned parents regarding the school board's decision to stop broadcasting public comments during school board meetings. You're going to hear today why that's important that we continue to do that, why it silences parents. I don't know how many of you play chess. Anybody? In a chessboard, let me see, I got this right here. This piece right here can go sideways, can go forwards. However, the Republicans on the school board believe that once that chess piece changes, the rules should change. And we don't believe that. You should have the same rules no matter who is in charge. And that means public comment so parents can get a chance to voice their opinions. People at home can enjoy watching the meetings while they're watching their children. They can watch it later. They can watch the public comments. However, as the school board believes, parents are just pawns. They're not pawns, they're not chess pieces. We are not playing chess nor checkers. What we should be doing is advocating for parents. So today, I'm going to introduce my colleagues, and they're going to introduce some parents. And what we're going to do is talk about why it's important that we continue to have these conversations in a public manner, and we're asking the school board to reconsider their vote and to go back to allowing parents to have a voice when it comes to their education. And now I'm going to hear from our vice chair of the delegation, Terry Cummings.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Terry Cummings. I represent Mableton and Smyrna, State House District 39. I wish that I was here this evening to talk about the excitement of going back to school, but unfortunately, I'm not. Due to a decision by the school board last week, parents, concerned citizens, taxpayers are now going to be silenced. Their public comments will no longer be heard. This ill-advised decision is based on concerns about harassment, doxing, and other online concerns that all people share. However, you learn to work through those concerns. You do not silence people's right to be heard. And in this time and age, your right to be heard is meaningless if that right is not communicated. Now, you will also hear that other school boards do not broadcast their communications. This is not other school boards. This is Cobb County. And here, parents, teachers, students, veterans, seniors all have a right to voice their concerns and to be heard. A lot of times when people come and speak at these hearings, it's because they're not being heard through other means. They're not being heard. And a lot of times, we in the public, the way we find out about these important concerns is when those public comments are broadcasted. Yes. If you're an elected official, you will sit in the meeting and you will hear public comments you might not like, you might not agree with, and you wish, oh, I wish he hadn't said that. That's part of public life. But having the voice and having your voice heard is meaningless if that voice is silent and the community cannot hear it. So I have a few things that you can do as concerned residents, because I do believe in action. Concerned residents should contact your school board members to demand reinstatement of public comments, of the broadcasting of public comments. Attend the next board meeting and speak out in person. But remember, there was an attempt to silence that too when the sign-up sheets disappeared. Organize within your PTAs, neighborhood groups, and civic organizations to raise awareness. This impacts everybody, not just parents. I don't have kids in Cobb Public Schools, but I am a taxpayer, I live in Cobb, and I want the best for our students. Also, share personal stories on social media. This is not about politics. It's not about being a Democrat. It's not about being a Republican. It's about your right to free speech, and that free speech is meaningless if it's not heard. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is State Representative Mckia McQueen. I represent House District 61, which in our case includes some Smyrna and Vinings. I do have a prepared statement if you would allow. The decision to remove public comment from Cobb County School Board live streams is as calculated as it is cowardly. A public board voted to silence public voices, not by cutting the mic, but by cutting the cameras. That's not policy. That's censorship. and it's a blatant act of disrespect to the residents of Cobb County. Parents, teachers, students, business partners, and faith leaders, Cobb County school stakeholders show up. Week after week, they wait hours for 2 minutes at their microphone. They prepare statements. They speak their truth. And now the Cobb County School Board is telling them, speak if you want, but we'll make sure no one sees it. That's not transparency. That's a warning shot to anyone who dares to hold power accountable. I come to this work not just as a legislator, but as a classroom teacher. And I know that education doesn't stop at the schoolhouse doors. It lives in the questions communities ask of those in charge. Public comment isn't just about speaking, it's about witnessing, listening, organizing, responding. It's how the community keeps its finger on the pulse of its schools. Public comment is not a nuisance, it is a necessity. It's how a grandmother raising her grandkids learns what's happening in their classroom. It's how a teacher flags a safety concern before it becomes a tragedy and a headline. It's how a small business owner stays connected to the schools shaping tomorrow's workforce. And yet, instead of honoring those voices, this board has chosen to silence them from the record, strip them from the broadcast, and diminish their impact under the convenient cover of safety and copyright. Let's not pretend this is about liability. It's about control. It's about a school board that would rather turn down the volume than face the consequences of its decisions. And it's part of a larger, more troubling trend. Governing in the shadows, hiding public business behind closed doors, and calling that leadership. Because if the Cobb County School Board were truly concerned about safety, they'd invest abundantly in mental health supports for teachers. If they cared about liability, they'd make sure students had buses and counselors before lawyers. And if they actually cared about copyright, they'd find ways to elevate, not erase, the voices of the people. We've already seen what happens when entire districts refuse to broadcast any portion of their public meetings. And now the Cobb County School Board is following suit, not by shutting the door all the way, but dimming the lights just enough to do damage. The end result? A slow, deliberate erosion of public trust, a quieter path to unchecked power. This isn't just bad governance, it's a warning sign. And while this response comes after the board's vote, it's not an afterthought, it's a call to action. The decision to silence public comment wasn't made in the light of day, and our response won't be either. We're here now because this moment demands clarity, courage, and accountability. To the people of Cobb, I know what it feels like to show up, speak out, and still be ignored, dismissed, erased. But hear me. There are people fighting for you. You have representation that refuses to accept backroom governance as the norm. You have voices under Georgia's Gold Dome committed to holding the line on transparency, access, and public trust. You have champions who believe public education must remain a public process, loud, visible, and answerable to the people. We are not here to perform outrage. We are here to organize around it. And we will keep showing up on camera, on record, and in full view. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Campbell, and I'm the State House Representative for District 35, representing the Cobb communities of Ackworth, of Kennesaw, and of Marietta. I come today with my colleagues, with parents, with interested community members to express our extreme displeasure at this increasing suppression of our voices, and to rally a call to action to agree with all of our colleagues that this will not happen without extreme feedback and protest from the local community. This decision to end public comment, and some will say that's not accurate, that in fact public comment is still allowed. And what we say in response is that if the only way that people hear public comment is to come in person in the middle of the afternoon during a weekday, and there is no other official record, it is not broadcast, there is not a transcript, and after the meeting, there is no evidence of any feedback, that yes, in fact, this is the complete erasure of public comment related to our public school and school board activities. In Cobb, we have had so many innovative successes, and one of those has been since 2007. The members of the Cobb community have been able to come to the building right behind us and share their opinions, favorable and non-favorable, about what's working and what's not working in our communities. Parents have been able to come, employees have been able to come. This extreme measure, we believe, is not worthy of Cobb County Public Schools and is not relevant in terms of the best use of our tax dollars. This is suppression on the highest level. Additionally, at the same meeting last week, in addition to the suppression of all public comments, a motion was made to allow students to come and present with their parents' permission at school board meetings. And that motion was also denied. So we have suppression of parents' voices, suppression of teachers' voices, and suppression of students' voices. And we believe this is not what democracy needs in order to thrive. We have a First Amendment right to have our public voices heard in a public forum. And that is what we are here doing today to call this out. Democracy at a federal level, at a state level, and at a local level requires sunlight and transparency. We also believe the timing of this is very suspicious. We could look to what's happening on a federal level to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion. Again, suppression of voices. We can look to some of the unfavorable comments that were shared in just the last public meeting from staff who talked about equipment, buses, in fact, that were not safe. The timing of this decision seems very suspicious. We also call, again, for the superintendent and for the board to reconsider this decision. There's not a policy in place that cannot be rescinded, and we're very hopeful that this outcry from the public and the actions that we hope everyone will take will lead to that. We call today to ask our superintendent to abandon this harmful policy that silences dissent, erases public accountability, and shields our board members from criticism. And as we've shared as an elected official myself, we believe it's vital that the people we represent have as many means as possible to share and to be on public record regarding feedback on our policies. It's also the elimination of just a great tool for collaboration, a great mechanism for listening and getting input from our experts, from our constituents, that our board could use in deliberations. Rather than shutting down active engagement, we call to expand public and board member participation. And that includes the opportunity to add agenda items to the school board meetings, not just from the Republican majority council members, but from all members, so that we can jointly work on problems together. So again, we encourage everyone to allow all duly elected members to actively participate on the board, and instead of silencing the voices of thousands of their constituents, which is essentially what this policy will do, allow all of these voices to be broadcast, considered, and on the record. Because we all know we have so many critical issues to be working on. Impending federal budget cuts to the tune of billions, increasing our literacy rates, ensuring our schools remain safe spaces. And so we call on our school board and our superintendent to be responsible leaders, not irresponsible, to move forward together, protecting our freedom of speech and strengthening our ability to keep our public school board, our public tax dollars, public and on the record. Thank you. I now hand it to my colleague, Gabriel Sanchez, to go next. Oh, no, okay, not next. We're going to go to some parents now.
I mean, I don't mind speaking.
Let me introduce Michael Garza.
My name is Michael Garza. I'm a longtime Cobb resident and a father of a third grader in our public schools. I'm a leader in our PTA and a frequent attendee of our school board meetings. I'm here to talk about the critical role that live streaming of public comment plays in educating our community and in building support for enacting positive change within our classrooms. It is how a father was able to force the district to provide classroom tools and a bus monitor for his 2 nonverbal children with autism. It is how a mother has been able to frequently push for change to better serve her child and other children with special needs. It is how one courageous student was able to pressure the board to pass changes to graduation policy to ensure her peers aren't discriminated against in the future. And in my role in PTA, I have seen firsthand the importance of providing avenues for community feedback in improving the educational experience for our students. Parents are more engaged within the school when they know their input is valued by administrators. When our kids feel seen and heard, they feel empowered and learn the executive functioning and critical thinking skills vital in their development. Unfortunately, our school board and our superintendent don't agree. They believe they know what's best for our families, that our input is a distraction. That's essentially what the superintendent said when he claimed that changing the live streaming policy would allow him to focus on educating our students. That is a fundamentally wrong way of thinking, especially from the leader of a large, diverse county like Cobb. You cannot be effective in educating all of our students unless you have stakeholder input from every corner of the community. But this is not just a superintendent problem. Our Board of Education has used redistricting to prevent Black and Latino parents, whose children make up a majority of students in Cobb, from determining the leadership in our county. They voted to limit the power of the board members who represent these same parents, taking away their voice in the decisions of this board. And they've even allowed employees to take extreme measures, like releasing private student information to the media, to discourage students from speaking at public comment. The result has been a leadership team that is disconnected from the schools that they represent. And now the community has one less pathway to changing bad policy. Our children deserve better. The last thing I want to leave you with is that my daughter is excelling in our public schools, but a lot of children in our county are not. And a lot of that is because of decisions that are made in this boardroom. And I am here not for my daughter, but for those students, because those students are our children. So I implore all of you, even if your children are excelling, that these are our children, and I urge you to contact your school board member and local legislators and urge them to do the right thing. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Andrew Cole. I am a father of 2. I'm from Cobb County. I moved away for work. I came back home on purpose because I had such a great experience here, growing up and in our public schools. I wanted that for my 2 daughters, and when they were about to begin in the system, I started paying closer attention to the actions of the school board. And I was immediately concerned. Amid a number of other measures, they've decided to take action whenever they're challenged by the public regarding issues of safety, wellness, inclusion, discrimination, among many other concerns. Last week was unfortunately no different. It was another in a long line of measures they've taken to distance themselves from the public and from any sort of confrontation. To me, if you have decided to run for a public office, you should be okay with speaking to and hearing from the public. That should be part of the gig. If you want to be left alone and work in isolation, start an Etsy shop. You have chosen the wrong field. I grow increasingly frustrated that over and over they keep adding hurdles, not just to the public, but to other elected officials who sit next to them on the dais. They've made it harder to add items to the agenda. Every time there's an election, they seem to add one more qualification, one more measure to make it more difficult. They've removed the opportunity for elected officials to have any time at the microphone to address their community because they can't control what that elected official might say. To me, that highlights just how deeply committed they are to control. They want to control the narrative, and they want to control the record, and they want to control our community. I know because I've spoken many times at public comment, and very few times I've been approached by board members, some of whom passed the updated policy last week, and it became really clear what they would prefer. There are other ways deal with this. You could email, you could call, we could talk about this. And I'm afraid that's what they want for anything, for any sort of challenge, is to relegate that offline, away from others, so that they can either settle it in their own preferred way, or more likely, ignore it altogether. And you heard from Michael just a few minutes ago how many incredibly important issues have been brought to light because of public comment. And there is a vital effect of having a citizen address their leaders in a public forum, because it does put pressure on those leaders to act, to at least reply. And without that, I fear that our runaway majority and superintendent would veer even farther off course. So that is why, among everyone else here, I encourage you all to please reach out to your board members, ask them to rescind the policy, to go back to the way things were, because when we hear from each other in our community, we are all better. Maybe you're having a great experience, but now you know that someone else isn't, and sooner or later, you will be impacted by a policy or an update or a change. And we are all, I just want us to act as a community, and a valuable piece of that is the publicly broadcasted public comment segment. I do not want you to believe the farcical reasons they provided for passing this update to the policy, acting as if for the first time in the history of broadcasting public comment in almost 20 years, we're risking being challenged in court. We've already had experts weigh in that said if that were the case, someone would have to sue the district and have evidence that the district is trying to boost a particular narrative via public comment. No one has ever done that, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. All of the other justifications are completely contrived around editing needs, delays, the difficulty of what that would entail. They have a fantastic communications team that is capable of handling high quality productions, and I know that they can operate on a delay, add in edits, and also provide disclaimers so that the district is not held liable for whatever is said, because these are people coming from the public. It's not scripted, it's not controlled, and that's how it should be. So please reach out to your board members and communicate with each other so that everyone in Cobb County knows what they're trying to do in a quiet summer month before everyone gets back into their fall routine. Thank you.
And we'll hear from our last speaker, another community member.
My name's Toba, and I come to speak as the mother of two children who were in special education. One still is. I spoke at IEP meetings, I begged for help. Nothing happened until I started speaking at school board meetings 4 years ago. We can make change only if administrators are watching the meetings virtually, which most of the administrators in the district do watch the meetings virtually. I've had many comment to me. There are changes that help students with behavior, that help students academically, but if the people who are watching virtually cannot hear, it's not worth my coming to speak, and changes will stop.
So you've heard from elected officials, legislators that represent Cobb. You've heard from parents. You've heard from community members. We will open up if there's a question or two.
But it's been reported that the Republicans consider this a win. How do you say this is not a win for I guess, where the Republicans are on the board?
So if a win is yielding to everything the superintendent does, giving him a multi-million-dollar contract where you can't embarrass them. If a win is silencing parents, if a win for them is silencing anybody that has a dissenting opinion, then I don't know what they consider wins. We don't consider wins. What we consider wins are safe schools, parents that can send their children to school and not have to apply for vouchers. We have hundreds of parents who've applied for vouchers in that Cobb County school system because they feel that the school system and the superintendent has failed them. Never before would you have seen parents considering vouchers like that. So if that is a win for them, it's not partisan. We are not mentioning Democrat or Republican because we realize we can only get something done if we work together as parents in this school system. So that's what I would say if they say it's a win. Any other questions? If not, again, thank you. We're going to continue to advocate. realize that parents do have the ability to record any meeting. So if you feel that the comments are important, just come to the meeting, get there early, sit in the front row, record, and show it on FaceTime. And the more people that do that, the more people that do Facebook, the more people that can see it as public comments, because that is in the state law. What I hope is that you will see legislation dropping across the state that either one requires all school boards to broadcast meeting from beginning to end. That is one option. Option two for those districts that cannot afford it is if you're going to publish the propaganda, you've got to also publish the public comments. So that means if you are going to, as a school system, have the economic means to sit there and say what a great job you're doing, you've got to allow parents to give this different insight, because you will not be able to see everything in that school district. As a legislator, I can't. I wouldn't have known this lady's story about her children. But I can if I hear it in public comment. So that's what you will see going forward. And again, we want to thank you for being here and thank everybody that came out. One more question? Yes.
Can you please speak to the community of parents that would like to voice their comments in a respectful manner, that are open to partnership and conversations, that may feel silenced because of the retaliation component directly from their school teams or board?
No, you're right. And that is a big concern, because a lot of times parents it takes a lot of bravery and it takes a lot of concern about it, because trust me, I've had children in the school system. I understand, even as a legislator, that concern. I would say, please reach out to your elected officials. Reach out to us. If you don't feel comfortable reaching out to your own elected official, reach out to me or one of my colleagues, and we will then pass the message along to your colleague if you think there's going to be some type of retaliation. But as long as I am on the education committee at the Capitol, as long as I'm a state legislator in Cobb County, as long as I'm chair of the delegation, you will always have at least one voice that you can reach out to that will make sure you are heard. But thank you for that question, though, because that is a big fear of a lot of parents. Because, and I'll add this. It's the reality. And the also reality is we have, for example, that board will go to Republican meetings during the school day. They go to Republican meetings during the school day, and they'll take their principals and basically make them go to a school board meeting. I would never do that to a principal, to come to a Democratic meeting during the school day, bringing kids during a school day, on tax dollars during a school day, but they feel that's comfortable. They brag about it. So what we need to do is make sure you are heard, because that makes a better school system for all of our children.
David.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Oh, I wanted someone to also add in the fact that the same exact silencing happens to bus mechanics, nurses.
Yes, bus mechanics, nurses, because that's what they're also trying to silence. Is those are not some radical people. Those are people that drive our kids to school every day. Yes.
Sorry, I might just add, maybe it's obvious, but we all have a First Amendment right to speak, to assemble, and to petition redress, which is exactly what we would be doing in a public comment space. That is a fundamental right.
No matter where your paycheck
No matter
Here
where
your
we
paycheck's
are.
from. Yep.
And that does not go away because you're a teacher, you're a counselor, you're a bus driver, any sort of staff who works for the public school system. And so I welcome and would like to hear from our community if this is happening to you, because this is an extreme state of affairs. Not just a sad state of affairs. These are our public schools using our public tax dollars. And we have every right, and in fact, it's our responsibility to show up and to be active participants. So the idea that we are now talking about retribution and punitive, retaliatory actions is abhorrent, and everyone here will be working on your behalf to make sure that that does not happen.
Okay. Two last questions. Go ahead, right here.
How do people know who represents them? Where do they find that information?
There are several different places. The League of Women Voters, I know you can put your address in, and it will give you who your elected official is on all different levels. You can go to the Cobb Board of Elections website, or again, worst case scenario,
Georgia My Voter page.
Georgia My Voter page. My Voter, Georgia My Voter, type in your birth date and all of that. You can find it there as well. All the way down. And last question.
Thank you. First, I wanted to say thank you for taking the stand. I'm a parent of 2 kids in Cobb, and I really appreciate the support. I am familiar with a couple of your colleagues who have spoken at school board meetings. Can we count on a sustained, ongoing support, not just support, but pushback of the harm that the district perpetuates? A lot of us are feeling very tired, and
Yeah.
I hope that this, I don't want to call it a first step because I don't want to minimize the work that you do behind the scenes, but I hope that this can be maybe a renewed relationship between representatives and the people that have been here many, many times, that we can count on your sustained support because we really need it. We need help. We desperately need help.
And how would you like to see that help happen? Just be at the meetings to speak up, or what would you?
I would love if more of our representatives attended the meetings, see firsthand how we are made to wait outside for 2 hours for public public comment sign up, to just witness the atmosphere in the room, because every time someone comes for the first time, they can't believe that we're treated that way.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but it's validation that we're not losing our minds, because a lot of us really feel like it's me, right? I'm the problem. So just that more publicity, like this.
You're right. Okay.
It would just be so wonderful. Thank you.
That sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
I think that we can definitely do that, because, and I want to thank my colleague. He's the treasurer for the Democratic Caucus, Solomon. He said it's important that we get out there, because I get out in public occasionally, but a lot of times I'm behind the scenes. We're working on it. We're working on legislation. Sure. But if y'all don't know we're doing it, you do feel that you're alone. And so we will make that commitment that we will also have a public presence, as well as what we're doing in the Capitol, to make sure that what we do doesn't just impact Cobb County, but it's going to impact the state. So it's important that we get buy-in across the state. So thank you for that, and we'll make that commitment to you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.